Alright, hello everyone, it's Happy, and welcome to this Tier 10 tier list that we're going to be doing together. This is of course going to be a longer video compared to usual, but that's because there's going to be a lot of things we're going to have to be going through in this video. So sit back and enjoy. So we're going to be starting off with the E5, and just so everyone knows, C is going to be what an average tier 10 tank is going to be. Anything below that is below average, and everything above C is going to be above average. So the E5 I'm going to be putting... Wait, what? The E5 I'm going to be putting in D tier. Again, I think it deserves this spot, especially after all of its nerfs. This tank has not been performing insanely well. The armor is mediocre. The gun is good, but the DPM is again mediocre. And overall, the tank is just not that great. I'm going to be putting it at D tier for that reason. Now, the T57, on the other hand, is going to be S tier. This tank is a killer. The drum is going to absolutely shred you to bits. The armor is quite troll, but mostly it's in the S tier because of how good the drum is. Now, next up, the IS-4, C tier, just a solid tier 10 Soviet heavy tank. Just an average tank, in my opinion. The M6 Yo, or the M5 Yo, I'm going to have to put it at A tier. It's not S tier, but it's very, very good, in my opinion. A very strong tank, and one of the best tier 10 heavies, in my opinion. It's got decent armor, good mobility, and a very, very good gun. Especially if you choose the right one, you can dish out a bunch of damage. Now we have the E6 here. I'm going to have to put it at B tier. The tank is quite solid, the mobility is good, and the gun is very, very good. The DPM is phenomenal. The only thing lacking is the armor, but then again, you won't necessarily need it if you're a good player. So a B tier it is. Concept 1B, similarly, I'm going to put it at B tier. I think it's a solid tank, a decent gun, good mobility, decent-ish armor, but the only place you can really excel in is if you're hauled down, and you're not always going to be in a situation where you can be hauled down, so I'm going to have to put it at B tier. The M48 Patton, F tier, like completely garbage tank in my opinion. Nothing great really comes from it. You're going to have a lot of other mediums that are much better than this thing. The M60 E tier, I mean, like, it's not much better than that. It has a little bit better armor in my opinion, but still the M60 doesn't really give you anything, you know, exceptional or phenomenal to work with. The Sheridan D tier tank, the mobility is there, the alpha is there, but apart from that, it really has nothing. The other tank here is, the Sheridan still with the ATGMs, but you can't really play that, so it's going to have to be there. The E3, definitely D tier or C tier. I'll have to put it at C tier, just a solid tier 10 tank destroyer, good armor, decent-ish gun, horrible mobility, and you have C tier right there. I mean, it's not exceptional, but it's not absolutely garbage. Same with the E4, I'll have to put it at C tier, just because it's an average tank in my opinion. It's alright at what it does, but it's nothing really crazy. Same with the IS-7, just like the IS-4, a solid tier 10 Soviet heavy tank to play with. Nothing amazing, nothing horrendous. Object 260, B tier, good mobility, very good gun. The only thing lacking, again, just like the other tanks in B tier, is the armor. But apart from that, the gun is superb. And the mobility allows you to get from point A to point B relatively quickly. T62, either D tier or C tier. I'll have to put it at C tier, especially after the nerf. This tank doesn't feel right. The gun is not as laser accurate as it used to be. The mobility is still very much and the only thing you really have is the turret armor. But yeah, will that really help you? I don't know. T22 medium, either A- or B+. Let's put it at A tier. Good mobility, good gun, and solid armor. Just allow it to be at A tier, in my opinion. Again, simply because of the combination of everything it really gets. 907, similarly, I'll have to put it at B tier. Yeah, B tier. It's a little bit better than the T62 in my opinion, but the mobility, the armor is similar to the 140, but the mobility is very, very good. So I'll have to put it at B tier compared to the T62. T100 LT, either C tier or B tier. In my opinion, I'll have to throw it into B tier. It's very fast. The DPM was cut a bit, but it's still a solid tank in my opinion. Object 268, either D tier or C tier. I'm really scared to put some of these tanks into D tier just because I feel like that spot is really going to be reserved for like really horrible tanks. But I'll have to put this here. Just a solid tank in general. 263, definitely D tier. That gun is not my particular, favorite, especially because the gun handling is absolutely atrocious. More specifically, like the gun won't go down. So in certain hilly terrains, like your gun literally won't go down, and that's the biggest pain in the butt you'll ever experience. So in general, I'll have to put this in D tier. Object 268, version 4, definitely B tier. A little bit better than its counterparts, for example, the E3, but still it does have a lot of problems with it. In fact, the gun and the aim time and the accuracy is just going to be really, really not there. But in general, still a solid tank, a little bit better above average. E100, also a B tier tank, in my opinion, just solid in general in every aspect. And so I'm gonna have to put it in B tier. Maybe not. I'm lying. It's not exceptional. In the case that it would deserve B tier, in my opinion, it's a solid C tier. It's just good at everything it does, and so I think it's quite average. 140, same with the T62, just quite similar. Good mobility, good gun, and decent-ish hull armor for a medium tank. You can block a few shells, but I feel like the 907 is just going to be a little bit better than this tank. The mouse, D tier for sure. I love the mouse, don't get me wrong. This is one of my favorite tanks to play sometimes. But not everyone can utilize this tank properly. And since not everyone is a good player, they're just going to completely use the mouse in such a useless way. I've seen it so many times, and people just farm damage off of the mouse. And most players who play the mouse are playing it completely wrong. So again, D tier. Same with the VK72. I'd have to put it in C tier because of the tungsten shells, but if not, I would have put it in D tier. Again, same problem with the mouse. People just don't know how to use this tank or utilize it properly, in my opinion. VK90, B tier for sure. Solid tank. Good armor, good-ish mobility, and an amazing gun. E50M, C tier. Just an alright medium tank. I wouldn't say it's super duper exceptional in one thing or the other. It's just good, especially because when it was turned into it was given the HD model, I feel like the E50M's armor got a little bit of a nerf. Again, that's just me, but for me the E50M has just always been a mediocre, just an average tier 10 medium. Leopard, A tier for sure. Good mobility and amazing gun, allowing you to do wonders in this thing. Same with the KPZ 50 ton. I feel like this tank is just quite solid. Maybe I don't know. The DPM is very, very good on this thing. The armor is also very, very good. So I'll have to put it at A tier. The Jagdpanzer A100, again, same problem as the mouse, guys. It's a super fun tank to play, don't get me wrong. I love this tank, but in a competitive aspect, are you really going to be able to really do great stuff in the Jagdpanzer? For example, if you're trying to farm damage. I don't think so. Like, let's be honest, I don't think it's the best tank out there. The grill, A tier. It was nerfed. It used to be S tier for me. Now it's going to be A tier. It was nerfed, especially the alpha, and so you're not going to be getting the same juicy alpha as you used to, but still the mobility is good and the armor, the gun is very, very good. The armor is non-existent, but a lot of tanks in A tier and B tier don't necessarily have good armor. FV215B, D tier, D to C tier. I mean, the gun is the only good thing about this tank, but if you're a really good player, you could put this up into A or B. But for me, I feel like sometimes armor is important, and so this tank has none of it. This tank has none of it, and you're absolutely going to get destroyed, especially because the turret is located at the back. Again, for me, it's hard. It's between B and D, and you could put it into different categories depending on who you are, but I'll just leave it at C. Chieftain, definitely B tier for sure. Solid tank, good hold down capabilities, relatively fast, insane gun, good DPM, solid tank. Same with the Super Conk, very good and solid tank in my opinion. Just a good tank at everything it does. This tank at D tier for me, again, I don't necessarily know how to properly utilize this tank. I haven't really played this tank properly. I've played it maybe for 10-15 battles. Didn't really like it, but still, I made an opinion out of those, and for me it's D tier. Nothing exceptional, but nothing like absolutely horrendous, but I still think it loses to a lot of medium tanks in its tier. Vickers, C tier. It got nerfed a lot over time. I feel like the Vickers is just not the same tank as it used to be. Oh my god, what the hell? Death Star, D tier for sure. Again, similar to other tanks like the Mouse and the Yag. Super duper fun to play, but let's be honest, in a 1 versus 1 scenario against any other tank, this tank would completely lose out if the players were quite identical. So again, in regards to competitiveness, this tank just isn't there. The FV4005 S tier for me. The drum is completely killer. Like, the drum will absolutely shred you to bits, especially with the consumables. You're just going to die. S tier for sure. Superb tank. Badger, I'm going to leave this for later. Type 71, A tier tank for now. Good mobility, good gun, and insane armor. A tier tank for sure. Just a solid tank. Even for the most average players out there, is going to do wonders. Just because of the armor. STB, A tier as well. Good mobility, very good, hold down capabilities. Just a comfortable tank to play in general and to farm damage. Hori, C tier. Just an average tank. Sure, it has that penetration capability, but in my opinion, in everything else, it really lacks. The mobility is sure, it's fast, but it's not super duper fast. The armor it does have, but you'll get slaughtered anyway, because the armor is there, but at the same time, it's not there, if you know what I mean. So this tank it's just okay. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just alright. It's not exceptionally amazing, but it's not horrible, you know? I don't know where to put the Badger, not gonna lie. 113, I'll have to put it at C tier, maybe B minus, C plus, but I'll leave it at C tier for now. Just an alright tank. It has everything you really need for me. You have good armor, good mobility, great gun. So yeah, B tier. I think, B tier for sure. 113, E tier. Just complete garbage of a heavy tank, literally completely garbage. I don't know what this is, 121, right? So this is a 121, C tier. Alright medium tank, alright. Same with the 121B. It's an okay tank. I don't want to stop too much on those tanks. The AMX 50B used to be S tier for me. I love this tank, and Wargaming absolutely killed it. So I'm going to have to throw it into B tier. It's an alright tank nowadays. Above average for sure, but it's not as good as it used to be. AMX M4 MLE, for sure, B tier. B tier for sure. Just a solid tank in general. Very good armor. Decent gun. I really like the alpha on this thing, and the mobility is very good, but not good enough as a tank in general to be put into A tier, but it's still very solid at B tier. Why do I keep moving these? Oh my god. 30B, in some areas it's really good, in others it really lacks. For example, in regards to DPM, this tank lacks a lot. Like, it's going to lose to some heavy tanks as well. So I'm going to have to put it at C tier. Batchat, D tier for sure. It's like, it's not the best light tank, it's not the worst, it's just not that great at the things it does. I mean, it's got a drum, it's alright, but again, for me, I just don't feel this tank. Again, this is just my subjective opinion. I'll have to put it at D tier. Foch, C tier tank. Yep, just the C tier tank. I was never in love with this tank. The Kron, maybe D tier, especially after all of its nerfs. The gun is still very good, but the tank just doesn't necessarily feel the same. You don't really want to play this tank as much, and it was nerfed a bit by Wargaming, and people don't necessarily play this tank anymore. Definitely a little bit below average in my opinion. 60 TP. Why do I keep touching these? 60 TP, B tier for sure, above average tank. Very, very solid, very good, decent mobility, good armor. The gun is also pretty good in my opinion, so I'll have to put it at B tier. Now we have the STRVK. I think it deserves the A spot. Everything is great about the tank except, again, for the armor and the alpha. The alpha is 350 and the armor is not really existent, but you don't necessarily need it if you're in this tank. You can still smack people around, and I feel like everything else about the tank is superb, so definitely A tier. Progetto B tier to D to C tier. I'll have to put it at C tier. Just an alright medium tank nowadays. It's not that great. It's not horrible. It's just okay. The mobility is allows you to get to positions quickly enough, but not very, very fast. The gun is not the best. The armor, you have hull armor, but the turret is non-existent. So overall, just okay tank. Talking about the Progetto, the TVP is miles ahead of this tank, and I'll have to put it at S tier. The gun is superb. You get into a position, you smack people up, and you run away as quickly as possible. Superb tank, superb, and definitely S tier tank. Now, getting to the Minotauro, I'll have to put it at B tier in my opinion. Just a solid tank in general. And I feel like the drum also helps with this. The armor is phenomenal. A lot of things can't necessarily penetrate this tank frontally. So in my opinion, just a solid tank overall. Some people would put it at C tier or D tier, but for me, it's still a B tier tank. Again, just my subjective opinion. The 113, the most obvious, average tank out there. It's decent at everything it does. It's not super great. It's not super bad. It's just all right. And it definitely is the average tank destroyer, nothing exceptional, nothing horrible. Now, the Caro thing, I don't know where to put. Same with the Badger. And I think that would be up to you guys. Tell me in the comment section below whether or not these tanks deserve C tier, D tier, B tier, A tier, whatever. Because the Badger, it was changed up a bit. And I don't know how it performs nowadays. Same with the Caro. Not too much experience on the tank. So, lastly, the ratings do end up looking something like this. So, tell me what you guys think about my ratings in the comment section below. And with that, happy is out, and I'll definitely see you guys next time. Bye-bye.